Hi, Gordon here. Welcome to the Canadian City and Southern Railroad. Today's video is scenery, an introduction to soft shell scenery. Here's a pile of old foam board, some half-inch, some covered with paint, some with glue on it, some that's been glued in together into various bits and pieces. We'll see how far I can make this go. Why soft shell scenery? Because instead of stacking up in just layer after layer of foam, I've actually built this scenery up with various little pieces. Now the reason for that is to save material and weight, but it also ends up giving a more varied area to it. This area has been pretty much completely carved and is ready for its next step. It's also ready to be glued down. You'll notice some areas over here with some green on them. That's because those pieces, which are now scraps that I've used on the layout, they were used to hold trees while I airbrushed them. You can see that I've got quite a bit of this first section done just with the scraps. You can see that I've got nearly as many scraps as I had to begin with, but they're a lot smaller now. Here are the tools that I've been using. The ones that I've been using the most are the sanding block, the straight edges, and the little jeweler saw. The big saw can be used to make some of the larger cuts to cause the foam to fit the bench work, but mostly I've been using the rasp and the saw for carving. Horizontal cuts, vertical cuts with the saw, and shaping, and more horizontal and vertical cuts, and making the profiles match was done with the jeweler saw and with the rasp. I've left areas that are on different heights that connect with little pieces of road so that the town isn't quite as flat as it was in the previous layout. As a final carving stage, I've come back with the X-Acto and added more striations, because in this area it's stratified rock. If it was igneous or metamorphic rocks, I would use a slightly different technique, and I might not make them quite horizontal. That depends on the rock in your area. The stream bed is now in, mostly. And you can see that I've gotten fairly far just with the scraps. This piece of foam here and this piece of foam here are the only new pieces of foam. All the rest so far was from scraps from old projects and from the pieces that I'd been using to hold trees while I sprayed them. All the rest of the foam has been glued in place, all the bits and pieces, and it's been carved a little bit with the rough carved with the saw. This is the view from the back of the layout. This section has been moved out into the middle of the room to make it much easier to reach everything. It's being supported by its main supports, the shelves, which are all on casters, making that process very easy. This is the front view of section 1, turned around by simply lifting it up and spinning it around. Because it's not attached to its supports, you just pick it up and turn it, very easy. Now it's ready to start carving with the rasp. That's the next step after the saw. It's pretty easy and pretty basic, especially when the strata is running horizontal, like this. You get the idea. Now I'll come back in also with the rasp and do some leveling and some final shaping, make the roads that connect to the second level of the town connect with the flat area at the base of the town. And a few little things like that, like along the stream bed. The final step after that is to come back with the X-Acto knife and add the final striations, although much of that will get covered up in the next step, which I'll talk about in my next video. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Next time, we'll talk about texturing.